We are talking about our experiences as Black gay men, raising children together, building families. Here to have this conversation with us about their experiences are Jonathan and Terredell. Jonathan and Terredell, how are y'all?
Doing great. Thank you for having us, Samson. We appreciate it.
I just admire everything that y'all got going on over there. I gotta ask, how long have y'all been together?
21 years this month, and we are celebrating our sixth wedding anniversary on the 17th, this Saturday. So, yeah, May 17th.
Congratulations. So, okay, so y'all been together 21 years. Y'all are 22 years old. So how did that no, I'm playing. How
Appreciate it.
how did y'all meet? And how have y'all developed and maintained the connection that you two have?
This will date us absolutely. So we met on Black Planet, and so for a lot of people, they may not know what that is. You know, those the first probably generation social media sites. Very platonic how we initially met. We both were in graduate school. I was at Temple University in Philly, and he was at James Madison University in Virginia. What part of
Yep.
Virginia?
In Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Straight corner, like we're both pursuing master's degrees in psychology. Let's link up. It was low key, my trying to holler at him low key. We got something in common. Let's talk. Yeah, we were friends for about a year and a half. We eventually ended up moving to DC. He moved back to DC where he's from, and I ended up moving to DC. In part, one of my reasons for moving to DC was because of him, as well as some friends as well. So ever since then, it's been JB and TB.
Yeah, it just kind of naturally evolved. It wasn't something that at that time that we had really planned. It just happened, 24, having fun just transitioned into something more serious. And then as time passed, it just became more serious and more serious and more serious.
And y'all are, together and y'all are living out loud. What gives y'all the courage to live out loud?
Can only be us. I mean, for the longest time, I've always stayed true to who I am. And I wanted someone who mirrored that same sort of sense of um, honesty, genuineness with oneself. And, I think that is one thing that we both share in common. And I think that was one of the main reasons that keeps this relationship thriving. It's because you have two people who are true to themselves, and it actually helps improve solidifying or establishing a relationship and maintaining one. You cut through a lot of riffraff when you are able to be at one with yourself. It makes life a lot easier in general. It definitely helps improve in the relationship to get to a place where we are right now where we have a child.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but that's in essence something that's
Yeah.
key.
To add just for environment, we live in Washington, D.C., a very, gay-friendly city. There's a lot of gay people here. So just from a population standpoint or a number standpoint, that makes it quite easy because it's such a strong culture here, Black culture, gay culture, white, just gay in general. So that makes it very easy versus if we lived somewhere else that was less receptive and open to the community. And I would also say our families as well. Our families are very embracing of the relationship that we have and of each other. And while that may have been something that evolved over time, the current state right now is families love us individually, love us together, and fully support us.
Absolutely.
When did you two decide that you wanted to be parents?
We both knew we wanted to become parents, but at probably different points in our lives. I've always known I've wanted to become a parent, even before I've come to terms with being gay. I think Terredell did too. Once we got in a relationship in our mid 20s, we began to talk more about it. I think Terredell wanted to, travel the world before becoming a parent. I'm like, I want to become a parent now. And even the way in which we wanted to become parents, we had to come to terms with that as well. I wanted to initially have a child through surrogacy because I wanted a biological connection with the child. And that wasn't necessarily something that Terredell was it wasn't high on the list for him.
Mhm.
So we had to come to terms with how we wanted to have a child. And as you know, those two pathways can be totally different emotionally and certainly financially. And so maybe in our mid-30s, we came to agreement that we both wanted to become parents. It had to be at different parts of when we wanted to become parents. And then the next discussion that was really heavy on the table was like, how do we want to become parents, via surrogacy or through adoption, public or private adoption?
Yeah. And that's just to add from my perspective. And I think this underscores why you're doing videos such as this. I only saw adoption as the main viable pathway for gay families. Like that was something that was the most accessible. While on TV you may have heard about surrogacy, that's something that felt very distant and removed from, my daily life, what I knew, the people I encountered. And so it was always like, okay, we want a child, we want to rear adoption. That is the pathway. And so, like Jonathan said, in my early 20s, I was like, look, I want to travel first. I'm just making some money. I want to see the world before my life is much more restricted. And so that happened. You'll never see enough of the world. There'll always be a desire for that. But then I reached a point where I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm ready at this time. And then it became, okay, the how. How became that. And then that's where there was a lot of difficult conversations that we had,
Yes.
a lot of impasses. Like it was a difficult process just because he had a vision for what he wanted, and I had challenges seeing how that pathway was viable and realistic for us. And it's not that I didn't want it, I just did not know how we would bring that into fruition.
Mainly the financial part. I mean, this is not a traditional way of creating a family. And as you and I both know, there's no blueprint to this. So there are a lot of novelty areas of navigating becoming parents as gay men.
Yeah.
And so it can bring up a lot of emotions. There's a lot of decision making that needs to happen, that both parties need to be on part. So the foundation has to be key. So everything we talked about up to now is important about building and solidifying a foundation between the two of you to get to this place. Because there's a lot of uncharted territory to cover.
When you say uncharted territory, what do you mean by that?
Uncharted territory, for one, looks a little different because, we don't live heteronormative lifestyles. We're two men trying to conceive a child. And so it looks a little different for us to navigate becoming fathers, especially as we're trying to pursue surrogacy. Even adoption can be a bit challenging, although that's probably more commonly done among gay folk. But that's something that was like we had to figure out. And uncharted territory may look like trying to seek within your community of very few people who have gone down this route through surrogacy. We had the opportunity to talk to people who were fortunate, by the way. So we aren't pioneers at this. We had to really dive deep into our community and found people who look like us, who've gone through the process, who we can relate to. And we've reached out to people who went through private adoption, public adoption, and gestational surrogacy. And we can talk about that later, what gestational surrogacy is, but that is the way to go, y'all. Don't do traditional surrogacy. We did it the right way, the legally appropriate way. And so uncharted territory looks like being unfamiliar with the process and interviewing and having discussions, open, honest discussions with other people to figure out what worked for them and seeing what works for you in contrast.
Yeah. So we had to heavily immerse ourselves in what are all the nuts and bolts for each pathway. We examined the adoption pathway and went to several webinars that were done through the city for kids that were wards of the state. Like Jonathan said, we searched our social networks and see, who was further along in their pathway than us and talk with them, had some kind of mini mentorship so that they could help us to understand. And then we also found an organization, Men Having Babies, that provides a lot of resources for gay couples, for gay male couples. And then we attended the conference that they had in New York, probably 2001 I'm thinking. No, sorry, not 2001, 2021, excuse me, around 2021, and just immersed ourselves in like resources and information just so that we could understand the process and then what we needed to do from where we wanted to where we wanted to be.
So once you did that, what was the process like of actually conceiving the baby?
Ooh, so, first of all, the process does not have a unified way of looking for each couple. It's given like a la carte situation. There are different, different like scenarios. I mean, traditional surrogacy versus gestational surrogacy. You have to find an egg donor. You have to find a surrogate. So you could looking at surrogacy agencies, fertility clinics. You can go through traditional surrogacy where the woman is using her own eggs versus gestational surrogacy, which you see a lot of people using, like Candy Burroughs or Beyonce. Like they're simply a gestational surrogate, meaning they're simply carrying the baby. The embryo is already created from two other people, but they're carrying it. So it's very complicated. It depends on like your finances. It depends on like how you want the baby to be conceived. And so there are a lot of decisions that have to be made. Terredell would say I moved the goalposts when I switched from wanting a child through adoption to surrogacy. And then once you get to this place, okay, we're going through surrogacy. Now, what does it look like from here on out? So conversations, a lot of communication and being open and vulnerable and transparent.
And a lot of disappointments as well, because surrogacy is a very expensive process. Like flat out, people need to know that they need to understand, what the financial commitment is. It's very expensive. We, like so many people, already come with a lot of other, I don't want to say baggage, but just challenges around finances that can make it difficult. We went to college, we have student loans, we have a mortgage. Just the cost of living right now is very expensive. So trying to figure out what that would look like. And then some of the programs available to help us, they said that we made too much money on paper.
Yeah, we didn't.
So it's like, well, but by DC standards, we're not rolling in the dough. If we were in Iowa somewhere, maybe we might be living like millionaires. But here, no, that the cost of living is incomparable. So our situation was very serendipitous. This was not something that we fully planned out, but the pieces aligned perfectly, from when we attended the conference and amassed this information. And then our paths crossed with a female friend who was also on a parenting journey. And after many discussions with her, and she also feeling very moved to want to support us on our journey, we joined forces. Like it was strength in numbers. It was okay, well, let's tackle this process together. She had done a ton of legwork and had connections with the fertility clinic. And, we had information from the Men Having Babies conference that we went to. So we have a lot of information there, in addition to information about lawyers that were constantly a part of the process. And then also some of the gay couples that we had met in the past that we said we had these kind of mentor relationships with, they also connected us with a surrogacy clinic. So all the pieces kind of happened in all these separate buckets, but at some point they all just kind of aligned and really supported all of us on our journey.
Yeah, and it's very important to know for us as gay men to understand the gravity of what it's like of wanting to have a child and being very mindful about that emotional inclination and counterbalancing that with like ration and logic. And I mean, going about doing things in the appropriate, tactful ways when we're talking about attorneys for both parties, attorneys for the surrogate and the intended parent, attorneys between yourself and the egg donor. Because I think, like anyone would be, straight or gay, there's an emotional pull to like do whatever it takes to become a parent that sometimes you don't go about doing things in the right way. So we've done our research. We've even seen how other people have done things in a more legal way and some people who have not. You don't want to go through an emotional period of wanting the child so much, and then also deal with like legality issues or some sort of ethical issues or whatever.
And many US-based fertility clinics will not even, let you start the process unless there has been a legal clearance at various parts of the process. So you have to have a lawyer involved to create embryos. You have to have a lawyer involved to engage a surrogate and have the relationship with the surrogate as well. So there are multiple unique lawyers at different parts of the process.
And this is our experience, by the way. So, like everyone has their own way of going through this journey. That's just kind of like the a la carte piece I was talking about. So someone else's experience who has gone through surrogacy may not have looked like ours. But what is similar is that we both wanted to become parents. Us as a couple, and another person who's went through gestational surrogacy, they wanted to become parents.
So with the female friend who we embarked on this journey together, she connected us with the fertility clinic. We created embryos using my husband's sperm and her eggs. And we came out of the process with 4 what are called high quality embryos, because there's a number of genetic testing that you do on the embryos to make sure that there are no chromosomal issues or other things that might impact the pregnancy. We came out with 4 high quality embryos, 1 boy and 3 girls. And our female friend, she wanted a girl for herself. So she used one of the female embryos and carried that baby. And then we sought out a surrogate for the boy that we wanted. So we only had 1 boy embryo. So it was, we got 1 shot at this. And we both were very blessed because both for our children's mom and then also for our surrogate, the embryos took in both cases on the first transfer.
Yeah, so straight family, gay family, surrogacy does not happen statistically the way it happened with us. There are many success stories, but there are a lot of failed attempts, and it can take an emotional toll. We have been so blessed to have the opportunity to conceive a child via gestational surrogacy the first try. As well as for the biological mother of our children, because they're both biological siblings, whole biological siblings, and true too. So I didn't want it to come like it's so easy to get to this place. It's not. Straight couple or gay couple as intended parents.
And it was very stressful throughout while on the other end, it sounds like a great story throughout the process, it was very stressful, very stressful, a lot of sleepless nights, anxiety about the unknown, just all of that. We also use spreadsheets where we tracked all the costs associated with the process so we can get a sense of how much it costs. You also have to, be financially ready before you enter the process. And so there were a number of things that we did, from personal savings to also refinancing our home. It happened during the pandemic when rates were really low. So we really lucked up in that space as well. And so we also had to, in addition, make sure that we were as financially ready as possible to start that journey so that the finances did not stop or prolong the process.
Because you still need money to live.
Yeah.
Child, so you got to make sure you're ready. When the baby comes.
What was it like when the baby came, and what was that experience like, bringing baby home?
Oh man, surrogacy, money, working harder, who cares? You have like this bundle of joy in your life. Your whole life changes. Like your level of responsibility, the way you see yourself as a human being, how serious you take your life and your health and wellness. It's life-changing. I mean, sure, we can go through the different developmental milestones and how exhausted you be or are when you're taking care of an infant and everything, but so far it's been a blessing. It's like it's all been worth it. And it's not to say that like it can save a marriage. I think it has brought about its own particular challenges for a couple to, it's like communication times 10 now. Now you have to be on the same page as like, as a couple, but also co-parenting. But it impacts your relationship with yourself, your relationship with the child, and your relationship with your partner, and your relationship just with the world. It just changed dynamically in so many different ways.
And your employer as well. It impacts just all aspects of your life, your relationship with your family. Our son was born in Florida, where our surrogate lived, and so when he was born, it was exciting, it was scary, it was oh my goodness, all the excitement and planning. Now it's real, and now we are responsible for caring for this life and guiding this life through life. So there's a tremendous weight that's associated with that, but at the same time, it's beautiful. Um,
Your religious and spiritual game is important, from like the creation of embryos to like the pregnancy to like you bringing a child in this world, and you just have to stay prayed up. I mean, I'm very religious. We're both spiritual people, and so it's very important for you to like have that level of connection, because there are things that we had to learn that we didn't know about, and there are things that we are continuing to learn. We're thinking about this child at 18 and how we're going to navigate the world. And to contextualize this, as two men, two fathers of our son. So, and what that looks like, and of our daughter. So, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And it's challenging. It was very challenging in the beginning, the first few months. Like it's exhausting. So people need to understand that and be okay with it, when you're experiencing that exhaustion. The first few months where it's just I need to keep you alive. And so I am on a tight schedule as far as feeding, as far as changing diapers.
Is he breathing?
Yes, all of that.
Right.
So it was exhausting
Swaddle too
because
tight.
it's literally like every 2 hour process, and then we had to come up with a game plan for how we were going to manage it, and then just be prepared for the exhaustion that comes as a result of that. But I'd say it definitely gets easier as it goes on. We're not deep into the process. We're a little over 2.5 years into the process since the birth of both of our children, the boy and the girl. But it's amazing, it's surpassed what I thought it would be. There are moments where I definitely get choked up. I look at both of them and I'm just like, wow, I just can't believe that these children have been manifested, and just how your life opens up in so many different ways, and things that seem very nuanced are very meaningful. So like just being with them, going for a walk with them, seeing them grow, seeing the things that they become interested in, sharing experiences with them. So it's amazing.
And you want this for other people. You want this for the LGBT people.
Yeah.
Like it feels so amazing. You want others like you to feel the same way, because they too, like you, are deserving to become parents.
Yeah.
And so whenever we get people asking us, what does the process entail? Like Samson, I'm grateful. We're grateful to have this conversation, and we're open to have anyone talk with us about it, because we want other people to experience the joy that comes with being a parent, all of it. Because when I say joy, it means also like all the hard, heavy work that comes with it too. They deserve to experience all of it.
Yeah. So in essence, pay it forward in the same way that people supported us.
Yeah.
It's vital that we do the same for the people that were previously in our place.
Yeah. We are able to be parents too. Our journeys may look different to get there, but we deserve to become parents just like anyone else.
How do you two plan to navigate the challenges that may come in the world, showing up as two fathers together, or explaining to the kids that they have two fathers?
We had to seek guidance with like our mentors who are gay fathers about what they use. And one is named Papa and one is named Dada. And so that conversation needs to be had. Like, do you want to take Dada and I take Papa, or vice versa? And so far, the kids seem to be amenable, particularly our daughter. Like, she gets it, Papa and Dada. What does that look like for PTA meetings? When, other kids have mommy and daddy there, what would that look like for us? Now, look at it twofold, because we have a modern family, to the extent that, like, for our son, we're the legal parents of our son. It will be two fathers. But guess what? Julian also has a mother who's very involved in his life. his mother is involved so much so that she sees him, she spends time with him, and we spend time with our daughter. And so there will be moments where we may not be able to navigate this thing in a traditional way, and we may be figuring things out as we go, but we know we have a three-pronged family here with two fathers and one mother. We'll figure things out. And the thing as a psychologist that I've always learned is to be true to yourself, and I'm definitely going to be true to my child. And so we're going to go take this thing by the horns, be honest with them, and we're going to learn things together as we navigate. We're not going to have it all downright perfect, but you know what? Society is changing, and the culture is changing. Despite some of the things that we see that seem to be pretty much deterrents, there are also a lot of progress that the world is making, and so we're pretty hopeful that our growth, as well as the growth in the world, will make this process easy for us to navigate as two gay Black men parenting a Black son and daughter.
And I would also add that this is where representation and normalization come in to play.
Mhm.
And representation being ensure that the children are exposed to family units that are built differently,
Mm-hmm.
or the variety of family units that exist. And so that they see that, okay, there's not one way that a family is put together, that there are a number of different ways. And so there's no shame involved in that. And so that may be, connecting with other gay couples or other types of family structures where they can interact from the beginning. So this becomes a normal part of who they are. And so, yeah, that representation and normalization. And still be prepared that there are going to be people that aren't going to be receptive to that. And how do we build resiliency within ourselves and also within our children so that they can be ready in the event that they are confronted with people who just aren't haven't caught up yet.
What have been those experiences so far, showing up in the world together as parents?
Honestly, this kind of goes back to the point Terredell was making. I don't know what it would look like if we didn't live in DC, but like we also have an 18-month-old and a 2-year-old. They're like our twins. So we're not heavily experienced as parents. We haven't experienced anything that has been like off-putting. That's just been our experience so far. I mean, we've had people give us double looks, but there's been a lot of people who embrace. But have I seen people on social media saying two fathers? Oh my goodness, what about the mom? How are you gonna like? I've seen those comments, but no one's ever come at me sideways about that. You know,
Yeah.
we're both mental health clinicians. We've been in the field for a long time. We're gonna give this child all the love that he and she deserves, regardless of what people say. So to the extent that it matters much about what people think or what we've experienced, maybe I don't know. I have blinders on. I haven't quite seen or picked up on any shade of any sort, but like I haven't experienced
No,
anything.
I would say no, I haven't really at this point yet. And also just as gay people, we are constantly having to defend our legitimacy in the
Yeah.
world. And so this is not going to be anything that most gay people aren't familiar with. This is just kind of another added thing that we have to go out into the world and have solidarity in, who we are and what we have and defend that.
And
So
we're ready for it.
yeah, so I don't think that's any different than what
We're
any other gay person has had to deal with as they, just fight for their peace in this world.
It's going to make our children much more resilient.
How has having children together brought you two closer together?
Wow, communication. We've had to be more in sync with things, being more in touch with like our personal limitations, because those things don't go away. They just like are more, they're highlighted in ways. So I've had to be very honest with like, well, I wasn't really good with time management in the beginning. I don't think this is going to get any better with the child. And having a partner who fully understands that and still challenges you, but also understanding and offers grace and understanding. And there are things I'm better suited at that Terredell may not have been better suited for even before a child, that I offer grace and do the same thing. So it kind of helps you strengthen a relationship in that regard. The way in which you see the love poured into your child and it makes you feel that much more involved in the family dynamic. Like, I want to love you more because I see how much more you're pouring to our son. So it's just like this sort of dynamic situation where like you see how much love is being spent. Like when I see him gazing into my son's eyes, it's just it makes the intimacy and the connection more alive. So those are some of the beautiful aspects of being parents that I think having a child improves the relationship, which is not to confuse that having a child makes the relationship better. It makes it more nuanced and more in depth.
And I would add part of the secret sauce to the longevity that we've had is that share goals in
Absolutely.
the things that were important to us, whether it was who we wanted to be, whether it was our career pursuits. You know, we had shared goals in that space. They may not have been exactly the same, but it was shared in the sense that we were goal driven and this was something that we wanted and we were okay with working toward that. Share goals for the type of life that we wanted to have, whether it was, you know, owning a home, you know, whether it was a certain level of stability in certain areas. And so, in some ways, parenting is also this shared goal that we have. And when you have these shared goals, it's connecting and it's also going to push both of you to want to. Um, be the best in pursuit of those goals and then kind of also figure out, okay, here are the different obstacles that come with it and how do we overcome those obstacles, either whether it's working together or is bringing whatever unique skill set or just unique thing about our personality so that, you know, we can achieve it.
And so, just for context, we're gay, but we're not aliens. This is no different than any straight couple. So, when you are in a relationship and then you have a child together, you're still working on making sure that like you have common goals. So now it will look like this. So, does our child go to private school or public school? Is that child going to be baptized or not? Do they follow your religious and spiritual background or the other parent? All those sort of things. And so I think it's important to note that like while this is unique experiences gay men, also realize that like there's some normalcy that needs to be validated in the sense that like you don't want to feel like you're in this journey alone so much so that like there's a unique path or journey you're taking. No, everyone's experiencing this stuff together and learning it all together as parents. And so that's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah.
For Black gay men who are looking to build families, what is your advice or what words of encouragement would you offer?
Know yourself because it allows you the opportunity to meet a partner like you who's a confident and assured in what they want out of life because that foundation is key. And this might be a biased way of looking at it, but I'm looking at it in terms of co-parenting. If you want to become a parent and co-parenting, I think knowing yourself and being serious about what you want out of life and being in love with someone and solidifying that foundation first, if you want to co-parent. And then I think taking it step by step gets you in that direction. Of course, we shouldn't look at this thing in a one track mind. There are people who want to be parents and they may not take the co-parenting route. Know for sure that this is something you're signing up for as a parent, and you're taking this very seriously. Therapy is important. As a psychologist, I'm always going to advocate for that. Do some self-reflection, making sure that you are working through whatever issues you have, past traumas or any mental health issues, taking care of your health, physical health. All those things lead to you feeling like you are in a more stable place to give to a child because it is a full-time job. It's like two full-time jobs. So that's one piece of advice. I'm going on, but
Yeah. Love is just not enough with anything. Love is great to have, but it's not enough. Do your research. Definitely immerse yourself as much as you can in the resources that are available to you, the support groups that are available to you. There are a number of them that you can find on social media. Connect with organizations and people, even if you don't, you're not able to fully access the resources that they provide. You at least know what the resources are and Uh,
A social support system.
Yeah, social support, but I would also say the audacity of hope, and I know it's kind of connected with, Obama's book, but the audacity of hope, that wasn't something that I had when we started the process where I'm like really into the weeds about how to make this work. I did not imagine what the other side would look like for this. And so yeah, be hopeful throughout the journey, and yeah, be flexible that it might look like the end state might look a little bit different than you imagine, but it's still very possible.
Keep the faith.
Yeah.